Hello, everyone. Welcome to I think, a fun episode of Kryptonized. Joining me is Aaron Rafferty. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. We're going to into NFTs, a little bit of politics, a little bit into everything else that Aaron's doing, community building. But before we do, Aaron, could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, Mark, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for everyone on Kryptonize. My background, I'm actually the co-founder, CEO of Standard DAO, and also its subsidiary company, Battlepacs. And some of the things that we're doing, we're working with technologies like blockchain, but then also, some of the latest AI craze that's out there. We work with building communities and brands. One of the key, demographics that we're working with right now, especially with Battlepacs, we're working with students in the U.S. And more abroad. And so, very excited about all of the things that we're building right now.
Okay, well, let's start with building communities. Is that you do that for yourself or for other companies as well?
So we do it for ourselves, but then we also do it for other companies. And I mean, we're doing this in a number of ways, and I'll give you an example, right? So Standard actually launched Battlepacs in November, and Battlepacs being, a subsidiary of Standard, we targeted actually going out and launching a political kind of focused blockchain integration. So NFTs that were focused on politics. What's more interesting than that during midterms, and how you can kind of unlock the value for people in that way, especially ones that don't typically participate in that system.
Do it. Do the Trump, do the body, do the gang, do it. Do the Trump, do the body, do the gang, do it. V to the OTE, that's the shit that made this country, yeah. V to the OTE, that's the shit that made this country, yeah. Join the movement, check the influence, don't overthink about it, just go and do it. V to the OTE, going down the history, the code is NFT, what you know about it. Battlepacs, stop all the browsing, get down with
What we quickly found was that in building that community before the launch of the NFT, this ability to have your voice be heard, because that was really our mission, gained a lot of traction in the college student community and even high school students in America. And so we've gone down that road and quickly, from November, built a cohort of about 50,000 college students across the U.S. that represents like 900 different colleges. There's like 4,000 right now, and they're all getting into this idea, this thought that they can have more of an impact in not only politics, but I think it comes down to just the issues that are happening in the country right now, and they're really resonating with that message.
Okay, and then how did you onboard these 50,000 college students? Was it outreach? Was it media attention? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've gone down a number of different channels, right? Like, you go down the PR channel, you pay someone too much money, and then realize that you do it yourself. You go down the podcast, the outreach and media, and what we found was there's certain growth hacks that you can have to gain traction, gain virality. What we're doing right now that we're finding a lot of traction with, extremely low CPMs, in fact, unheard of. And even like growing a community for free and doing it in a way that it's very sustainable. We actually launched a scholarship. We launched a scholarship for students where they're making their voice heard on social media. They're making their voice heard writing, pieces and case studies around their lives, and they're getting, more input and traction. And we're having a lot of students come and participate, thousands every month, with that message.
Okay, well, that's a neat little growth hack. I like that. And then everyone wins at the end of the day, right? You get a community and somebody gets a scholarship, or maybe a few people get a scholarship as well. So now, how does that tie into Battlepacs? Bring us into that world.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, I mean, when we started Battlepacs, the message was, let's create a product that anyone can participate in. It's democratized. The mission of blockchain. And you can have more transparency, not only transparency, but also more control about and around where your money is going and how your money is speaking for your impact. And we wanted to make it so you typically have, we had FTX, SBF, he sent out a lot of money, millions of dollars to these different parties. And we looked at that and said, well, why don't, smaller guys, smaller people in America, why aren't they participating on that and, having more of a say in the political agenda, especially when it impacts them at home? And so we made the product of Battlepacs, one of the products was an NFT so that anyone could participate in that discussion. They could have more impact focused conversation. And the other side of it is just the mission of Battlepacs itself, which is to amplify voices for change. And so an NFT is one way to do that, but then just social media awareness and how we've been growing the community is another way. And we're finding that, you don't necessarily need to sell NFTs to be able to hit that mission.
Okay, that's just one of the channels that you have. But it would seem to me it would be a great idea if people were buying NFTs and that money were used to further causes, to hire a lobbyist, for example, or some other channel of reaching some of these politicians for change, whether that's local or national. And I don't know if that was your original mission, but I think in time that might be something that can happen, because I've seen quite a few people have NFT Dows that have been successful. They create this DAO. The NFT is your membership to it. And then, by voting, they can vote on what issues that the DAO is spent on. Do you have to register a certain way to do that, though? Like I think it's called a 503C for political act to act on political issues. Is that what you had to do, or is it something different?
Yeah, so it's getting into the details around how you actually make this happen. And so when I say issue focused mandates, we actually brought on Paul Hastings, Dina Rochkind. She was one of the advisors to Standard DAO, and so Paul Hastings. They do a lot of lobbying. They do a lot of political, incorporation, things like that. And we wanted to make sure that we were doing this right. And so we wanted to be able to move freely around impacts. And I specify impacts because, you can have one impact that you have both sides that are either for or against or whatever that is. And when we're actually doing the donations, we're selling the NFTs, or actually, pushing money in any sort of a way, enabling, the community to do that. You actually have to do it more on an impact basis. So you don't need to register in that sort of way, and you can actually do just a normal corporation. So it's just like a normal business, and they're kind of acting as more of like a hand of the business, or giving guidance and advice of where we should be pushing that funding.
Okay, well, I like that approach. I don't know the legalities of lobbying. I know there's a lobbying type of nonprofit that you could set up, but why couldn't there be a for-profit called a PAC? I don't know if PACs are for-profits either, but there's probably a for-profit way of doing this as well. I don't know what the rules are, but it's cool what you guys are doing and offering NFTs to help fund that raise. I know that's not the only way, but one of the ways that you're doing it. I think that is the future. Do those NFTs have any value beyond? I don't even know if there's voting rights, but what is the value of that NFT, or is the NFT just a vehicle to raise money?
Yeah, so it starts as a vehicle to raise money, and I think value is always in the perception of the holder. What we're using these NFTs for, there are apparatus where the aspects of membership, within just the Battlepacs community, where if you hold an NFT, then you might have access to certain rewards and different programs in that sort of a way. Obviously, we're going down the road of having, events and different things in that nature. And if you have one of these NFTs, then maybe you're having access to these events. Maybe you have access to, when we bring on a politician and they're communicating, trying to poll with the community, and the politician can actually be resonating with, a specific side if you bought a Democrat NFT or something like that. So that's kind of how we're looking at it. And we're always looking at it as, how are we driving value to our community? That's the question first. And you can drive value with NFTs, but at the end of the day, NFT is just an apparatus to sell a product.
Yeah, I mean, they're being used fortunately for me, on the security side. I love the security side of NFTs. There's NFTs that you could use to buy a part of a real estate project. That's just being done in Europe now. I'm sure we'll see it in the U.S. if it's not here already. But Mike, I have an interesting question. Have politicians ever issued NFTs to raise money for their campaign? Is there such an animal out there right now?
Yeah, no, we've seen this. There was some success, I think raising under $1 million. We've seen that a few times, both sides. Obviously, I think Trump raised $4.5 million, not for a campaign, but for more of a membership to Trump.
Just recently.
Yeah, just recently.
Yeah.
And I think if you bought 45 of them, then you got access to his exclusive dinner. So that's an interesting use case. I think we're seeing that a lot though with, personalities and different celebrities. They're launching NFTs around their brand. When it comes to actual campaigns to fundraise, again, I mean, to actually fundraise, if I'm going to do that, I don't see that much of a difference between, launching an NFT or launching just a fundraising campaign on my website. I think when it comes down to the different perks that people are providing, let's get a little bit more creative around what these things could be, and how that NFT use case actually ties in. Because otherwise, why NFT? What's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, NFT to me could be a key to unlock all the things that you're talking about. But if somebody figures out, okay, not only does it unlock all these things, but there's some value based on how well the politician does. And I'm making things up, folks, as I go here. But if there was some value there, that would be pretty cool. I don't know how you'd create that. Don't know what that means. But if somebody were to come up with that, and maybe if the NFT were increased in value, depending on how honest the politician was, if there was a way to measure that, that would be kind of the ultimate. So he or she'd be incentivized to stay honest.
Well, now
anyway, these are all pipe dreams.
Now you're talking about something interesting. Now you're talking about more of like a futures market around politics and how well those politicians are adhering to what they've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you had an NFT that increased in value somehow by a politician that stuck to what they promoted in being elected, there you go. That would be a great NFT that I would buy, because they'd be incentivized, because they get to take some of the profits if indeed that they stuck to their guns there. There you go. There's your next NFT.
Yeah, and then maybe you have more people supporting the missions and mandates. Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting.
Wow. Now we're coming up with something here. That's interesting. Yeah, because if you knew that they're incentivized to stick with their guns, then I bet you they get more people, and the value goes up depending on whether he or she sticks to it or not, and they get to keep a portion of it for their campaign. I doubt they could take it personally.
I love it.
All right. Is there, Aaron, is there anything else that we didn't cover here that we should have covered?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the other things that we've found that really, we've seen a lot of ways to build communities in crypto, right? You have Twitter, you have Telegram, you have all these, let's call them pump groups or whatever you want to call them. But what we've always thought about is how you're going to do something by actually generating value for a group, for someone, for a community. And I think one of the more interesting ways that we've been able to do that is always think about, what the end user might want. And so with Standard, we actually went out, and the first thing that we did was start an internship. This internship is for college students, it's for business owners, whoever it is, but it's people that are looking to get more understanding around the crypto environment. So we went out and actually decided to write the largest paper, or let's say Git book repository on the regulations in the space. This was like back in the summer of 22. And that, as a magnet, was something that was really interesting. We came into that thinking, maybe we'll get a few interns, maybe we'll get a couple people that get really interested in gung-ho, but we actually got 400 people after having about 10,000 applicants, right? So that was something where the output of all of those individuals was immense, something that we had to build, systems around. But at the end of the day, it gets, some value for the space. It brings value to the participant, and we were able to carry that forward into Battlepacs. And I mean, when you think about growing a brand, growing a community, or anything in crypto, I think doing more to think about the value that we can bring to individuals and the people that we always talk about adoption and the lack of, but what is the value that we're bringing, and what are the different magnets that people are looking for? And I mean, we found it with the scholarship. What are the other things that we could be jump starting community building? I think it becomes really interesting when you think about it like that.
Yeah, wow, that's great points. Well, Aaron, great to have you on the show. How do people get a hold of you or visit your websites or participate in Battlepacs?
Yeah, so Battlepacs, you can go to battlepacs.com, Battlepacs. You can check us out at standarddao.finance. I'm on LinkedIn. Hit me up on LinkedIn, Aaron Rafferty, or I think it's LinkedIn/Rafferty Aaron, and also on Twitter. SendFox0x is a username on Twitter.
All right, great. And thanks again, Aaron. And stay in touch. If you do create that political NFT, I want to know about it.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be launching it in the next few quarters here. So definitely we'll see if we can get you on that list.
Hello, Kryptonized fans. I've got a special token that I'm recommending for you. You've been following this show. We don't play any games. We'll tell you what tokens we like, what we don't. We have guests that come on and try to convince us. And you know the drill. But this one's a sure winner. And that is Tetragar.